Hey, welcome back everybody. We've done function questions. Now let's set up inference questions. So I'm going to need you to write in your lesson books what's ever on screen in green. We're going to see the inference questions right there on page 348. I've set it and it's highlighted right there in blue. They ask you to understand something that isn't directly stated in the passage. So it's kind of like function questions in the way that you can't just find a detail or plug in a vocab word to solve the question. You need to understand the context and the overall meaning of the paragraph or the passage in question. Here's how you can identify them. Notice how the phrasing, like the author implies, most directly supports the conclusion that, and the author regards as. Notice that it's not asking just to find a detail, it's not asking for the overall thesis. And unlike function questions, they're not asking for the absolute point. They're asking you to make a reasonable assumption based on the evidence presented in the passage. Now, although these are some pretty challenging attributes of an inference question, we saw earlier that they're extremely lucrative source of points on the critical reading section. So let's talk about how we can answer them. First, the overall strategy you should use is to use your passage map. Again, even though you won't need the main ideas to directly answer the question, they can help you shape what your answer should be. So if you still don't have the notes in green, totally fine. Make sure you ask the TAs below and they'll be able to help you out. We've got a little bit more context before we tackle a question. Now, I need you to know that an inference is not an opinion. You see, here's the thing. It's not an opinion because it is based in what you're reading. Like, an opinion would be like, you know, I like the Big Bang Theory, the show. You can't, that's not based on any facts or, in my opinion, any good taste, but that's beside the point. There's nothing supporting that. But at the same token, it's not a fact because they're not directly stated. It's just a very reasonable assumption. And we clarify that below. It's not an opinion, it's not a fact, but it is a conclusion drawn from facts. Now, I've got arguably my favorite poll of the class to give you the right context to solve these inference questions. But first, let's take a look at the attempting wrong answer choices. You're going to see that they often are out of scope. They go beyond what's written in the passage. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I've got a little prop with me here. There we go. Hey, wearing a straight-rimmed baseball cap and a bow tie. I just got drafted by the Wizards. What I'd like you to do is to choose what you can infer about me based on how I appear. Okay. So notice how you don't want to go too out of scope. You don't want to choose an answer that's really, really like extreme, or you're reading way too much into the evidence. Okay, so you want to get the most basic assumption from the evidence presented. And wouldn't you know it, awesomeness. 100% of you guys got that right. I like the Red Sox. Here's what makes that right. Notice how it's pretty easy to assume I like the Red Sox because I'm wearing a baseball cap. Pretty cool, right? But here's the thing. You can't necessarily assume that I hate the Yankees. Yeah, there's a rivalry, but that would be going beyond what you see right here. And also, notice how season tickets to Fenway Park, that's a little bit extreme. I mean, I'm wearing a baseball cap, so I have season tickets to see them. That's pretty unreasonable. And that's what, again, makes it out of scope, but also extreme. Now, just to solidify that last point, I want you to remember that on the SAT, there's only one right answer for a question. So it's really helpful in inference questions, because if you're choosing one as right, you're choosing the others as wrong. If you had chosen any of the other answers there, like let's say you chose, oh, he hates the Yankees. You're saying I hate the Yankees is right, but he likes the Red Sox is wrong. What you're essentially saying is, I don't like the Yankees, but I don't like the Red Sox. Well, you're basing the fact that I don't like the New York baseball team on the fact that I like the Boston one. So, in order for that second answer to be right, the first one has to be right too. And I want you to use that context, as well as that one right, four rotten strategy to solve inference questions. You know what? There we go. Let's go ahead and let's tackle one question right now. Notice how we're jumping right into the question stem here before we look at that short passage. Again, getting back to the Kaplan method for critical reading, which is step 4. We read for short passages, read the question stem first. So we're trying to figure out what the author considers the naked mole rat to be. Notice how we see clue words like, yep, I see some private chatter saying that. We see inferred. The author considers, good. Let's take a look at this paragraph. Let's see what's there. Okay, so we're going to see that the naked mole rat, again, in that first snippet, not as visually impressive. Okay, so okay, kind of homely. That's cool. But notice how later in the sentence it says how it captured the attention of naturalists around the world. Okay, so right there, as you see, highlighted in blue, naked mole rat, kind of ugly, but captures attention. Kind of interesting. And as you go through the second paragraph, you're going to see information like they form insect-like colonies. Much like ants, they establish a division of labor. Okay, so they're ugly, interesting, they act like insects. So let's mark that down as our prediction. And notice how I'm keeping it really, really colloquial, really basic language there. Ugly, interesting, acts like an insect. But now we're going to go ahead and eliminate the answers that are way too extreme. So go ahead and look and figure out what answers are too extreme. And I'll give you a hint. There are going to be 3 of them. So make sure that you post them right there. Okay, so we're looking for the really extreme answer choices there. Alright, I see some people voting there. Awesome! What I would definitely go with A and E, and let's cross those out. We can see that more interesting than such animals as giraffes or zebras. Again, there wasn't that point made. Never said they were more interesting than them, said it was interesting. And E, one of the most interesting mammals in the world, what is it, the Dos Equis mole rat? I don't always act like insects, but when I do, I form extensive underground colonies. Stay ugly, my friends. No, that's not what the mole rat acts like. So A and E are done, and yep, seeing a private chatter chiming in on that same level. No evidence that it's ugly, just not as pretty as a giraffe or a zebra. Again, it's different. It's subtle, but it's different to say it's ugly versus not. It's uglier than a lion or a zebra. So when we're down between B and D, notice how our prediction steers us away from B, which again says it acts. Our prediction says it acts like an insect, not closely related to an insect. It's a mammal. That can't happen. But notice how D, again, it mentions has an unexpected scientific appeal. It's interesting. So based on that, we can choose that correct answer. Excellent job there, folks. Let's get some more practice, but on your own, on a passage about an author's mother's experience moving from India to America.